rules of this Parliament prevent me from asking crucial questions about the scandal over the SNP finances. So I cannot dwell on this here, but I do want to give the First Minister an opportunity to be transparent with my opening question today. Because last night the First Minister became the SNP's Treasurer. So while this is still a party matter, it is also now a government matter if the First Minister is compromised. If his hands are tied, if the party of government is about to go bankrupt, or if he himself may become involved in the police investigation. And yesterday, the Deputy First Minister said this: going forward, the governance of the party needs to be about transparency, openness, and people should be able to question about the accounts. And we agree and believe that there are legitimate questions that the Scottish public deserves to know answers to. So in the interests of transparency, will Humza Yousaf agree to make a statement to Parliament on the financial scandal engulfing the party of government here in Scotland?
What I would say to Mr Ross is that obviously in terms of standing orders, First Minister's questions is the opportunity to put questions to the First Minister that fall within the responsibilities of the First Minister as First Minister and, of course, the responsibilities of his government. And therefore, I'm not entirely clear that that question has met the requirements of standing orders. I'm looking at the First Minister to see if he has anything he wishes to add to what I've said. First Minister.
I am happy to answer the question. I know there are some, of course, serious issues for the party that I lead, the SNP, to address. I'm not going to shy away from that, presiding officer. That's why in my very first act as SNP leader, attending my very first National Executive Committee, I'm pleased that we got agreement from that committee, the body that oversees the party that is elected by our members, to a review into transparency and governance, and not only into transparency and governance review, but one that has external input, particularly in the issues of financial oversight. So, of course, that is an important job, an important role for me to take forward as leader of the SNP. But let me also say that what I am doing and what the government I lead, what we are doing collectively, is focusing relentlessly on the day job. This is why in the first few weeks as First Minister I also announced £15 million for school-aged childcare targeted towards the lowest income households, £25 million, additional £25 million to support the just transition, additional funding to support GP practices that are in our areas of highest deprivation, £25 million to be able to buy back or long lease empty properties for the social rented sector. So these are priorities for me, they're priorities of the Scottish people. And while I take my responsibility as leader of the SNP extremely seriously, I and the government that I lead will be focused relentlessly on the priorities of the Scottish people.
Douglas Ross.
The first words from the First Minister when he stood up were he was happy to answer the question, and then basically refused to do so, because I was simply asking for a statement and transparency, and I do think it is needed from the First Minister, because the secrecy must end.